The purpose of cultural awareness training is to focus on principles that hold promise for moving Delaware's security professionals to a higher level of understanding, acceptance, and appreciation of our diversity. Because Delaware has an ever-changing population, training and understanding is essential to assist Delaware security professionals in developing a capacity for identifying and responding to its changing communities. The latest Census Bureau data indicates the following. Between 2010 and 2021, the share of the state's population that is Hispanic Latino increased 1.9 percentage points to 10.1% overall. Between 2010 and 2021, the share of the population that is Black or African American increased 1.7 percentage points to 23.6%. The Asian non-Hispanic population also increased slightly. During this same time period, the white non-Hispanic population had the largest decrease, dropping 4.8 percentage points to 60.6% of the population overall. The concept of diversity encompasses acceptance and respect. It means understanding that each individual is unique and recognizing our individual differences. These can be along the dimensions of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, age, physical abilities, religious beliefs, political beliefs, or other ideologies. Diversity allows for an exploration of differences in a safe, positive, and nurturing environment. Diversity is about understanding each other and moving beyond simple tolerance to embracing and celebrating the rich dimensions contained within each individual. In live, in-person classes, during the cultural diversity section, we would play a game with the students called Connect the Dots. The directions for Connect the Dots were simple. Students were asked to connect all of the dots with 4 straight lines without lifting their pencil off the paper or not retracing any lines. Lines may cross if it was necessary. Students were given 5 minutes to complete the exercise. During the classroom version, most of the students were unable to perform this task within 5 minutes, as they were limited in the type of answers they responded with. The one aspect most of the students forgot, as you can see from the correct answer that's outlined on your screen over here, is that they were not given any direction that they could not go outside of the box in order to draw their lines, thus limiting their perspective. The goal of this exercise was to demonstrate that we often limit our perspective and choices, and particularly in the realm of considering cultural diversity differences amongst each other. Students had to draw outside of the lines, which is what they mainly did not understand. And this is what is required of all of us when we interact with other people, to think outside of the lines. Understanding cultural diversity often comes down to the idea of understanding other people's points of view. As exemplified by this exercise, we often are very busy thinking about our own points of view, and in turn we fail to see other people's points of view. In addition, we tend to judge others' ideas rather than try to understand them. So why is it important for us to embrace diversity? Well, for starters, diversity is all about understanding, valuing, and using the differences in every person. Diversity empowers people. It makes an organization or a team effective by capitalizing on the strengths of everyone. So let's take a look at several obstacles to diversity. Bias is an inclination towards a certain belief, often interfering with objective judgment. Discrimination is distinguishing differences or treating somebody as inferior based on their race, sex, national origin, age, or other characteristics. Prejudice is an opinion formed based on biases without complete information. It also refers to an irrational hatred of a specific group, often ethnic or religious. Stereotypes are a conventional, usually oversimplified opinion applied to a particular group of people. Other obstacles include racism, which is a belief or doctrine usually involving the idea that one's own race is superior and has the right to dominate others, or that a particular racial group is inferior to others. Sexism is a prejudice against a particular gender. It often appears in the form or the role of stereotyping as well. It can attempt to impose limits on what one gender may or may not be capable of accomplishing. It can also be referred to as misogyny. The United States is a relatively young country in terms of advanced civilizations as it approaches its 250th anniversary. Like most countries, it has admittedly struggled with the idea of true diversity. At times, the government has assumed the role of attempting to legally indoctrinate diversity into society through government mandates and laws. One such example would be Equal Employment Opportunity, or EEO for short, which was introduced as part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and signed into law by President Lyndon Johnson. This effort attempted to ensure positions in the workplace for protected classes, which included groups like females, veterans, minorities, and people with disabilities. Because the government claimed the program was not entirely effective, Johnson introduced the Affirmative Action Mandate in 1965. The Civil Rights Act of 1991 passed in response to the U.S. Supreme Court decision that limited the rights of employees who had sued their employers for discrimination. And then the Americans with Disabilities Act, known as ADA, was signed by President George H.W. Bush and became law in 1990. This prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in all areas of public life, including jobs and employment, schools, transportation, and all public and private places that are open to the general public. While we can debate the effectiveness of government efforts to promote diversity in society, these laws and mandates will only go so far. The idea of compelling society to be diverse can instill necessary legal changes, but it will seldom change or sway hearts and minds of everyone. Embracing diversity because it is imposed upon us is not the answer. Instead, we need to embrace it as a practical matter. Moreover, embracing it within our workplaces just makes sense. A business that fails to understand diversity will be less competitive, lack the resources to succeed, and fail to meet the expectations of their customer base, all of which impact the financial stability of any organization. Simply enforcing government regulations will not get us to the best. To obtain the competitive edge, we will need to grow our workforce from groups into teams that utilize the full potential of every individual. Teams are much more than a group. A group is a collection of individuals where a person is working towards his or her individual goal, while a team is a collection of individuals working towards a common goal or vision. Being security guards normally operate in a team working environment, we will concentrate on this concept. Workplace diversity requires us to accept and then utilize the differences between people in our organizations. That sounds simple, but diversity encompasses race, gender, ethnicity, personalities, cognitive styles, tenure, organizational functions, education and backgrounds, and more about the people that we are working with and we employ. Diversity not only involves how people perceive themselves, but how they perceive others. Those perceptions affect any interactions that we have in the working environment to our customer base. For a wide assortment of employees to function effectively as an organization, Human resource professionals need to deal effectively with issues such as communication, adaptability, and change. But it's not only the human resource people that are responsible for this. We, as individual employees, need to practice these concepts as well. Once the concept is embraced, and employees, managers, and others act to embrace diversity, the benefits will be evident. Organizations employing a diverse workforce can supply a greater variety of solutions to problems in service, sourcing, and allocation of resources. Employees from diverse backgrounds bring individual talents and experiences and suggesting ideas that will be appreciated by our customer and client base. One method of achieving workplace diversity is the idea of being culturally competent. Said plainly, being culturally competent encourages us to at least be aware of the differences among people in our environments, to recognize this in a positive manner, and adapt to the differences among our coworkers, just as we might expect in return from them. Unconsciously, we bring our own cultural interpretations to any situation, especially in the workplace. This is not to say culture alone determines our interpretations. Our past experiences and personalities play a major role as well. Regardless, being culturally competent is relatively easy to embrace and already reflects the character of most persons who honestly want to work in a cohesive work environment. Respecting others' opinions, even if we disagree. No, this does not mean surrendering our fundamental value systems. It means coming to the conclusion others may see things differently. They may have other life experiences that we have never been exposed to. People can have different viewpoints, but can still work together. Respect is the foundation of what we will refer to as the 4 phases of the cultural competency checklist. Respect establishes a good baseline for the checklist. If you begin by respecting differences, this opens the door to becoming fully competent in promoting diversity. Communication in regards to this topic is not necessarily always seen as verbal. We communicate in many different methods. The key is communicating truthfully but respectfully. If you start by examining and acknowledging there are many reasons why persons may feel alienated. Some people assume others will always treat them differently because they don't fit into a particular stereotype. What may help you is to say yes, there are historical and even generational injustices that have existed for many of the people we are different from. And while we can't go back in time, we can at least admit the obvious. Perhaps you really don't understand what others have experienced, or their lifestyle is contrary to your established value system. Maybe that person can help educate you, or maybe you can enlighten them about yourself. Because for sure, if you see them differently, they are most likely seeing and judging you in the same manner. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes is perhaps a concept from our youth, our faith, or other guiding principles. But do we really practice this all the time? Try to go that extra mile and see if changing your perspective can change your mind, even if it's just a little bit. Work on being a good listener first. Hearing someone's views only sharpens our understanding and prepares us to respond. If you choose to first fully listen to someone with a different life experience than you, then hopefully they will grant you the same courtesy in return. Cut out the stereotyping, where everybody needs to be cut from the same mold. First off, that's just impractical. Using your own standard to judge others will always be inaccurate. Making an effort to be culturally competent and embrace diversity may take some work. But being closed-minded and unwilling to accept others who are different from us will eventually alienate you from that team we spoke about earlier. That team you will eventually need one day. Cultural diversity is not about making things perfect. It isn't even about making everything equal, although striving to be fair will be an important role in this process. Cultural diversity encompasses all of the cultural competency goals: respect, communication, understanding, and engaging.